Welcome to Discovering Grays Lake, a podcast dedicated to the stories and people that make our town truly unique. Join us as we sit down with local business owners, community leaders, and everyday residents to hear their tales of triumph, struggle, and everything in between. From the little-known historical gems to current events shaping our community, we'll cover it, all in an engaging and informative way. I'm your host, David Wool, and together we'll discover the heart and soul of our town, one story at a time. Today's podcast is brought to you by the lovely folks at Keller Williams North Shore West at the Sinkmars Group. Motivated not by numbers, but by helping you feel at home in our community. Jody Sinkmars and her team are committed to serving Grays Lake and its neighbors with the utmost care. Call Jody today at 847-767-7358 or visit the Sinkmars Group online at sinkmarsgroup.com to get started on the path for the home you love right now. This podcast is also brought to you by the Cashmore Financial Group. Financial advice for everyday people. Turn your financial stress into financial success. Call us today, 847-231-6150. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Discovering Grays Lake. My name is Dave Wool, and I am downtown Center Street. Actually, to be specific, I'm at 123 Center with my buddy Steve Neilson. Steve, how are you today, buddy?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me, Dave.
Hey, the pleasure's really all mine.
Okay,
I just want to start with this really quick. So Steve owns the official name of your company is Valen Studios, correct?
That is correct.
And much to other people's belief that maybe walk down Center Street, you see the beautiful dresses in the front window. It's really a photography studio, correct?
Yes, it is. That is true.
What is the percentage of your wedding dresses that you sell compared to photography?
About 90% to 10%.
90.
And everyone thinks I'm a dress shop.
I know. I even saw it on a website. It said Valen Bridal Studio. So we need to get that changed really quick. So I met Steve a long time ago. I'll give you a little backstory about. So I was over at the Gurney Mills, and I was at the Cowboy store. I think the Boot Barn or something. And I'm trying on the shirt, and I hear this guy rustling around next to me. And you remember that?
I do, actually. Yeah,
okay.
The Cowboy shirt store.
Yeah, and the Cowboy shirt store. So I walk out and I look at Steve and. You know, we made a little eye contact. Nothing weird or anything, but I looked at him and I'm like, "Hey, do I make the shirt look fat?"
And then my response cannot be said on
right.
podcasts.
Of course, but a friendship was born.
Exactly.
And then we found out, because I was in the wedding business, DJing weddings, and at that point, you were just you were doing video, I think.
I was just doing video at the time, yes.
Yeah, and now look at the massive empire, dare I say, that you've born that's been born in your photography.
Well, I appreciate that. Yes.
Yeah. And one of the things that brought me to Steve's photography and very edgy kind of style, right?
Yes. I consider myself like a colorful and vivid artist.
Okay.
I've always liked colorful paintings. You know, some of the artists that I actually follow, and I brought that style because it's just in my blood to my photography.
Yeah, one of the first people I saw, I think they might have been intimidated by the way and the style that you did, but they said, "Oh, that guy that shoots with the ominous skies, like there's a storm coming or something in the background."
Right.
So you incorporate a lot of Photoshop and some things to really.
Yes, I consider myself a Photoshop artist for sure.
Okay.
In some of the photography that we do, the sky is about a third of the image.
Right.
And I see a lot of photographers out there, and it's semi-popular, I guess, and I think it's going away a lot, is like the light and airy, which means the sky is pure white. And for me, I'm like, there is a lot of information, a lot of beauty in the sky.
Right. I'm actually looking at some of the photos on your wall right now, and my eye is drawn, obviously, to the subjects first, but it really enhances with like a cool sunset or
absolutely
just a really cool sky behind it. Yeah, so Steve and I have worked together. I DJ'd wedding for 27 years, and for the last 10 or 15 of those, we were side by side a ton of the time.
Correct. Yeah, I've been doing it for 20 years now. But I prefer to say 2 decades. It sounds cooler.
Yeah. So if you ever have to say that, folks, say I've been doing this for over 2 decades. Yes,
yeah.
Make it sound more important. That's business lesson 101 right
yes,
there.
Agreed.
So Grays Lake business. Before I know we just jumped in. I want everybody to know what you do, but how in the heck did you get here? I know that everybody has their backstory. I want people to know a little bit about you, and how you get to be, have your studio on center here.
Okay, that's a great question. I think my story is pretty fun. It's an entertaining story. There's a lot of thin threads, is what I like to call it.
Yeah.
I can't believe that I'm actually here ultimately. And I think there's so much that's because of fate. When I was younger, I was an artist. I consider myself like a sensitive artist type.
Okay.
And I also have a very high sense of humor. So when I was
That's funny.
Okay.
Sorry.
I appreciate that. I think that's why you and I relate.
Correct.
I do know where the inappropriate line is, and I always go over.
Good.
Okay.
I wonder we get along.
Okay. I'm very well aware of my inappropriateness. So my best friend growing up was also very funny and also an artist. So we just kind of drew and hung out and laughed all the time. And I just took that skill set with me. It's how I'm wired. I couldn't fight it. I also enjoy hot rods and cars and stuff like that. So when I first started getting into the marketplace as an 18, 19, 20-year-old, I was in the auto body business.
Okay.
And I would detail cars. Detail means, the last finishing touches after a car's been repainted. I would put it all back together and make it look really good at the end.
Awesome.
Because I'm very visual that way.
Mm-hmm.
My brother and I worked at the same place, and regretfully, even if that's the right word, it's sad to say, but one of our friends was killed in a car accident. And both of us were working at the time, and the manager of the place, I remember so vividly, he said, well, I think Dan knew him better, so he can go to the funeral, but you can't.
Are you kidding me?
That's a true story.
Wow.
And I said, this is ridiculous. This is a dear friend of ours. And I said, I'm going. So on the way up to the funeral, my brother and I were talking, and I also have entrepreneur blood. School failed me. I didn't want to go to college and do that. I did go to college for like a little bit, learned some classes, and got out as fast as I possibly could. Teach me this, and then I'm moving on. So because of my entrepreneur blood, I'm like, I want to be my own boss. And that was like the final straw. And there's so many stories before that, but that was the final straw that broke my camel's back and got me to talk to my brother. I said, we need to start our own business.
And what was that business?
That was an auto detailing company, basically.
So you went with the same thing that you're working at.
We had a skill set for it.
Right?
Yeah, so it was like washing and waxing cars and things like that. And right away when we first got started, we got hooked up with a company called Federal Express. I don't know if you ever heard of Federal Express.
Never heard
at some point, they changed their name to FedEx. And that's back when they used to drive vans.
Wow.
And only some of the bigger trucks were there wasn't as many, I guess, like there are now. It's a massive company now. And we had the account to change all the trucks over, like pull all the stickers off and re-sticker them.
Oh my gosh, changing everything from Federal Express to FedEx on all the trucks.
Yeah, it was literally hundreds of them.
Wow.
Just in a general area. And that was
so you guys got that business on your own?
We had a friend that ultimately needed someone to do it, and because we worked at this auto body company, the owner of the auto body company really liked us.
Right.
It was the general manager that gave us a hard time. Ultimately, that's the one that said I couldn't go to the funeral. The owner was actually a lot more lenient, but yeah, he kind of led us to it. Yeah, like how about the Neilson brothers do this? Nice. And we took it from there, and it was a good business for a couple of years for sure. And
nice.
And that's kind of where I grew. I use my artistic ability with that because I'm very detailed.
Right.
I pay attention to those kinds of things, making sure everything's lined up, and I do things with excellence. I'm not perfect by any stretch of imagination, but I'm excellent at what it is that I do. So that's kind of where it started. Yeah.
Nice. So you're putting stickers on FedEx things, and you're changing them all around. Where does photography, like, is there some moment that you were like, oh, were you taking pictures of the FedEx truck? Like, what happened to make you want to do video or photo or whatever you're doing? Right.
Well, if I can actually share another little side story. So we ended up we were successful enough to then get our own shop, but we had to rent with somebody.
All right.
And we were renting for, I don't, it must have been about a year or so, renting with this other guy. And I got a phone call one time at 4 o'clock in the morning. You might not actually know this story, so I'm going to share it to you.
Yeah.
Because I think it's interesting. 4 o'clock in the morning, I got a phone call and says, hey, this shop's been broken into and robbed. And they vandalized and they broke a bunch of stuff. And the guy that we were renting from, and he goes, and I think you know who did it. And you're not welcome here anymore. You guys are in serious trouble. The cops are involved, all that kind of stuff. I'm like, wait, you what?
Insinuating that you broke into your own shop.
That we broke our own shop.
Right.
And ultimately, it created a massive problem in my brother and I's life for a little bit because this guy was so adamant about it. And we ended up getting out of that shop. It didn't really ruin our reputation with the people who really believed in us, but it still was put a stink on us for probably 2 years or so, I'm guessing.
Right.
Ultimately, he was the one that did it, and he's still in prison for it.
What a douchebag.
Yeah. So
I think I can say that on here.
Probably.
Wow.
Well, I mean, seriously. So, but we were 20, 21 or 22 at the time.
Wow.
And that was hard to deal with.
Yeah, because you had your whole plan.
We had everything. Yeah, that really flipped us upside down. And I don't know if he's still in prison. I don't think you go to prison for that long. But yeah, he ended up in jail and cost him, hundreds of thousands of dollars in fines and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know if you knew that part of the story.
I did not know.
So anyway, that's what that led to. And then I met my wife. I met her and she was my wife right away.
Right. That's how things
we ended up having 4 kids, and then so how that ultimately
that was the first time you were married, right?
Yeah, the first time. Yeah.
He's been married once.
Yeah, and only one time. Okay, so then
So after you get out of there, so you guys don't know what to do. So
like I said, life happened. So I started having kids, and my detail company wasn't strong enough to help support all those children. So I ended up having to drive a truck. I just met some guy at a breakfast one time. And he's like, and he needed his trucks cleaned. And so we were doing a cleaning for him. He's like, hey, I need some help actually loading these things. And can you come down and help? And he was going to pay me a lot more money. And I said, yeah, we'll go ahead and do that. But I was miserable because I was working for somebody and it was terrible. But I had 4 kids who liked to eat.
Yeah.
So I had to feed all them.
Do that.
Yeah. So I had to keep them fed. And, so I, eventually got sick of that. And then one day my mom, God rest her soul, bought my kids a new computer, family computer.
Okay.
And she told me, she's like, the boy that sold it to me said that there's a really cool video editing program on there. And I remember how you used to video edit when you were younger. and I thought maybe you might find some joy in that. Because I used to edit with an old Super 8 video camera. We do slow motion slam dunk videos. I would record through 2 VCRs, playing one slow motion to record in the other using a little boombox. And that's how I would add music. They were terrible, but they ended up being pretty cool.
Yeah.
So that's where she remembered me doing those things, and we're talking like 2.5 decades later, or longer, is when she got me this computer. One day it was raining. I turned on a computer program on, and it literally changed my life. I could not believe the amount of power and control I had over video editing. It was unbelievable. So I created this one tiny little dumb video that I shot with my kids. It was, I shouldn't say dumb. It was just like adorable and cute, right?
Right.
And then, which led to another thing. And then one of our other friends said, hey, we got to create this cheerleading banquet video at the end. I created that. Everyone loved it. Yeah. And which led to the next thing and the next thing. And then our church one time asked, hey, we need someone that can create a commercial for us. I'm like, well, I can give it a shot. So we gave that a shot.
Nice.
I don't know if you guys remember Project Greenlight with Ben Affleck and Matt Damon. Yeah, we entered that. We actually did really well in the contest. We didn't win, but we did well enough to inspire us for the next thing. So that was a pretty cool production that we put together. And then I have a bunch of ding-dong friends that are funny.
Right.
So we write scripts. We shoot something on a Friday. I edit on a Saturday. And the next week we come back and we just laugh for 15 minutes about how dumb we are on screen. It's just hilarious.
Right.
And then someone inevitably said, hey, do you do weddings? And I said,
yes.
Yes, but there's no take 2. We're known for our 30-minute blooper reels and our 1-minute videos, right? Like, that's how it is. So, yeah, I shot the very first one. The guy was a video editor, and he edited over 250-something commercials, so he couldn't shoot his own wedding, obviously.
Right.
He hired us. I shot the whole thing. I had no idea what I was doing. Right. I gave him 2 DVDs. With the first one that had all the really good footage on it, didn't work. So he played the second one, which is all the footage that I was doing test footage on. Yeah. It was terrible because I didn't know you don't give that to a client, right?
Right.
Oh, let me shoot my foot. Yeah, well, I don't know. I just gave him everything.
Right. They don't need a blooper reel for their wedding.
Right. And his response to me when he saw that, he goes, this stuff is terrible. I regret hiring you.
Shut up.
Yes. And I said, no, I actually have good footage. He goes, like, don't worry about it. Just, we'll just consider this a wash and be done. He still ended up paying me. And I said, no, I actually have really good footage. So for 40 hours, I edited this wedding video for him. I gave it to him. 2 weeks later, I'm like hemming and hawing trying to figure out, I've like destroyed my career.
Right.
That's one thing. I guess I'm not in the wedding business. 2 weeks later, I get the phone call and it's him, and I'm nervous about answering it. I answer it, and it's his, and he's like, "Hey, Steve, we just watched the video. We're going to grab something to eat real fast." I'm like, "Oh, and it felt like forever before I responded, and I could hear, and then his wife yelled from the passenger seat, "We effing love it!"
Nice.
He's like, "Dude, this is so unbelievably great. We want to pay you double."
Wow.
So that's how I got into the wedding business. Yeah.
Okay. So you did video for a while, and I knew you first as a videographer, or like.
You used a videographer. What do you call it?
I used to say it's the videographer. Yes. So how do you transition from doing video to doing photos because all I've seen you done for a long time is you personally shooting the photographs and having an enormous passion for it.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so back when I was doing that, it was still film.
Right.
And yeah, for those who also know what a 4:3 TV is. Yeah, we were shooting video when it was 4:3.
Right.
Okay. For those nerds out there that they're like, oh, yeah, right, yeah. And then for those who don't know, anyone born past 2020, or anyone born, in this millennia, it's now 16:9. So anyway, we were old school with that, which means it was still film days. Anyway, the camera started getting into the digital realm, and I could take digital files and kind of manipulate them with, open a file in Photoshop and turn it black and white. Ooh, look at me.
Right.
I was like excellent at it. But I was still fascinated by the program. And we would have videography clients of ours in the wedding that wanted photography as well. And I kept turning down the business. And one day I'm just like, I am turning away so much business. They're asking for it.
Right.
So I decided I was going to pull that trigger and go for it. And that summer, I took 2 classes on how to be good at it because I didn't want my video reputation to die at all. Right. I wanted to be good at photography right away. I studied underneath the number 1 and number 3 wedding photographer in the world. I had no idea they were that good. I just liked their work. Nice. I didn't care about rankings at that point. So that's how I started my career. Since then, I've studied underneath the top 6 wedding photographers in the world because I want to be considered amongst the best. I do not compete. Although I do have awards, I don't show them to anybody.
Right. And you don't talk about them.
I don't talk about them. I don't care
at all.
Right.
So everybody knows about them.
Yes. Exactly. Yeah, sorry. So if you'd like to delete that, that's fine. I'm looking at one of my awards right now. And the only reason why I have it on display is because it looks like an Oscar.
It does look like an Oscar.
Yeah, it looks cool. And I just like it because it's pretty. But I want my clients to just look at my walls and say, wow, these are fantastic. We're going to hire you. They don't really care how I got that skill set. They just want to know what can I do for them.
Correct.
So that's one of the ways that I ultimately got started. When my kids were going to private school, I also met John Wondrosik, and he literally changed my life as well. He asked me to do a quick photo shoot for him, and afterwards, he's a very talented creator. Afterwards, he was looking at the pictures, and he's like, dude, these are unbelievably great. I cannot believe what you do. You need to do this for a living. So it was a combination of both those things.
Yeah, so John pushed you.
John pushed me, yeah.
Nice.
Because someone really believed in me, who I really admired.
Right.
So
nice work, John.
Yeah. So I'm still appreciative. It's part of my story because I want it to be part of my story.
And you're still shooting. You're doing commercial shoots with John to this day.
Right. Matter of fact, I got one tomorrow and the next day. Yeah.
Awesome. And that's like shooting products. So you do commercial photography as well.
Yeah, I do commercial photography as well.
Wow.
And we
headshots
do
and all that kind of stuff.
Headshots and funny stuff because we take pictures of pens and staples.
You get paid to take pictures of pens and staples.
Yeah, right. And you have to show the pen with the pen cap off, the pen cap
Somebody's got to take it.
Someone's got to do it.
Right. Exactly. And I'm sure that there's a lot of skill in that involved that I couldn't do it.
Right. Some of the things that we like, how do you use a pen? You have to take a picture of someone using a pen. Mankind's 4th invention. Like, you don't know how to use a pen? But we have to show it. But that's the kind of stuff. Corporations need these things. So, yeah, and it pays very well. And and it's fun. I like working with fun people. So I think that's my story on how I got, and then, okay, so here's how I got to 123 Center.
Yeah.
So John used to have a studio across the street, and then his business was expanding, so he got involved in 123 Center, which is like an old school city vibe, all exposed brick on the inside.
Very cool.
Exposed ceiling,
kind of
drop lighting.
Kind of
yeah, industrial. Yeah, it's got like a lot of, and then all the furniture's black with a little bit of brown tones. It's very eclectic and it's just really cool, old school. And when he opened his new studio, I walked in. I said, dude, man, this place is unbelievably beautiful. If it ever becomes available, I want in.
Nice.
And, just as a joke, because I was so floored by how beautiful. Mahogany floors. I mean, the place is beautiful. And he laughs, says, I just signed a three-year contract, whatever it was, so that won't be happening anytime soon. I'm like, okay. 1 month later, he calls me and says, hey, I just had a fallout with my business partners. We have availability. You're
awesome.
In. And I jumped right in it. I didn't want to miss the opportunity. My business was expanding, and eventually his business moved on to bigger and better things, and I have the whole place to myself now.
Yeah, and if you haven't been here, guys listening, just stop by and say hello. When you see the dresses, know that it's just not dresses. You can come in and just check it out and say hi to Steve and the staff here, because it's really, really cool in here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then obviously along the way, too, you got into the wedding dress thing.
Yes, I think wedding dresses are beautiful, and that's why I got into that. I've been doing that for 12 years or so. Honestly, I forget.
And you have a lot of inventory in here. It just doesn't seem like it's your big passion.
It's not. Well, it's hard for, because of the sensitivity to women, putting on dresses and stuff like that. As an owner, I wanted to hire a female general manager, so I'm not really involved in it. I write all the checks, obviously, but I have a female staff that runs it for the comfort.
But you're still selling them. So if somebody wants to buy a wedding dress or a mother's bride dress or bridesmaids dresses, you still sell them.
Right. Yeah, I still sell them. I do have a claim to fame. I got done working out one time, and I got back, and I was sitting here in my studio, my sweatpants and my sweatshirt and stuff like that.
And a bridesmaid's dress.
And a bridesmaid's No, and about an hour later, the door opens and someone comes in walking in off the street. Hey, I need a dress, so I sold a dress in my sweatpants, so I can do it.
Right.
They tried it on.
I think I was here that day.
Okay, that might have been exactly. That was a while ago, but I can do it without wearing a fancy suit, I guess is my point.
Right.
But yeah, in our dress shop we have probably, I hate to think about it, but about $250,000 worth of dresses here.
Oh my gosh, we need to sell these.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, and they're always, changing them, and okay, these are out of style now, and you got to get rid of these. And
right. But another thing, and the reason for this podcast is to bring that, I don't know how many people in Grays Lake know that they could actually come and get a mother's of the bride's dress or a bridesmaid's dress or a wedding dress right in town and shop local.
Yes.
Just come check it out.
Yeah.
And they find something that they love. So let's get off of that because it's not that.
It's 10% of my business, but it's actually, and it's a nice chunk. I mean, it does okay.
Yeah. No, I'm not downplaying it at all. I just think there's a lot more interesting things to talk to you about.
Sure. Let's go.
So because we've known each other for a while, you have some with your entrepreneurial blood, as you say. It seems like you're always looking for something to do or try to motivate people and things like that. And I want you to share your program that you're currently working on with our audience.
Cool. I appreciate that as well. So I started my business with literally 0 clients, 0 equipment, and 0 skill set. And I turned it into blah, 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 successful business. My photography video studio is considered in the top 1% as far as like what we produce here.
Great.
Okay. And that's just by going by numbers, that you can find on the internet very, very easily. I know what my company produces, and I know what the average. You're
not the number one realtor in Grays Lake, though,
I
are you?
am not, but
okay.
I as far
You're
as
one
like
of the 5
building,
realtor in Great Lake.
Yeah. Exactly.
Sorry.
I
had to do it.
Yeah, no problem. But in my studio, like right now, I'm like the second best photographer because Kelly's here too. But no, I'll claim it. I do okay. I do okay. And I think most photographers would like to be in my shoes as far as like the numbers that we do. Okay, I'm going to leave it at that. But having said that, I've learned 13 incredibly valuable lessons being in business for 20 years.
Okay.
And it took me 7, almost 8 years to develop what I'm calling the Dominator program. I know people hate it. I love it. As far as the name, Dominators.
Hate it because of the name.
Dominators. Because when I first got in photography business, someone said I couldn't do it.
Right.
I said, I'm thinking about doing this, and they were like rude about it. No, you couldn't do it anyway. That's what it was.
Yeah, I had kind of the same thing.
Yeah. Like, okay, well now I'm going to do it.
Motivator, right?
So now I'm going to do it so well, I'm going to put you out of business.
Right.
Yes, my ego was involved. I was young and dumb, but it's how I was wired. It was a massive insult to me. So I coined the phrase, I'm going to dominate the market. So that's why I call it Dominators now. It's like, how bad do you want to do this?
What is the Dominator program? These 13 things?
Yes, it's these 13 things, 13 weeks. It's about personal development, getting your stuff together, understanding how you're wired. People have strengths and weaknesses. So I want to enhance your strengths and make it so awesome that you can't be stopped. And then take your weaknesses and delegate it out.
Right.
Who cares?
Right.
The first thing I want to delegate when I first got in business was accounting. Although I'm good at math, I don't want to do it. And government letters scare me.
Right. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Am I being audited? It's like, and so the very first person I could hire out was an accountant. I did that 19 years ago, and I've been paying for it ever since. And accountants are cheap because you can do a monthly thing. Don't be afraid of it. So anyway, I digress, but I can help out with that kind of stuff. So it's about developing your personality and understanding what you value. That's one of my favorite parts of my program is understanding values, because if I ask our audience, how many of you have values, all of them are going to say, yes, I have them. And then I ask the dreaded question, okay, what are they?
That's a hard question, man.
It's a hard question. Exactly. Some people can name 2, 3 at the most. I've had one person out of hundreds say 5. Wow. Like they understood their top 5. That's one person could do that.
I guess it surprises me, but it doesn't at the same time to actually define them.
Yeah, to define
So that's
them.
part of the program.
That's part of the program.
Your values.
Yep. And then we also develop your purpose by just asking unbelievably great questions. Get you thinking about it. And then we ask, okay, what do you want to accomplish? Right?
Nice.
I have 2 very important questions. You have to be involved in my program to understand what they are. 2 life-changing questions that will get you on the right track. And then from there, it's like, okay, what's stopping you? How to be a great leader? Things like this. It's an unbelievably great
See, I'm a
program.
sucker for like self-help books and business books to read all those. So it sounds like, well, and I know that you've read a lot of those together. You've kind of put together your own program of all the knowledge that you've consumed over 20 plus years of when you're really getting into stuff.
I think I've read 250, maybe 300 something books, business books. Wow. And out of all that, I took my best. I think it's kind of comes down to, don't quote me exactly, but quote me as you will. I took out of 300 books that I read, I took the 13 best chapters.
Okay.
And put it into a program.
Wow.
And those chapters really literally changed my life.
Right. You have some of these snippets on your TikTok channel. You have a Dominators TikTok channel, right?
I do. Yes.
Yeah. I remember the day that I said, you need to do a TikTok channel.
Yeah. Right.
So,
and it's been doing very well. It's the Dominators Mastermind with what do you call underscore the underscore Dominators underscore Mastermind.
We'll put a link in the little show button for that
I appreciate
too.
that. Yeah.
Okay, so who's in this program? Like, how do you? I know are we in launch phase right now, or I know you've had a couple trials out there, but what's happening? What is your ultimate goal with Dominators?
Okay, so last year I launched it officially, like with a full blown program to get it out into the marketplace. Ultimately, I wanted to do a test run with it because I've been developing it for 8 years, and actually I have a video podcast, and I've 52 something episodes have been created already.
Wow. I didn't know that much.
Yeah. And that's over the period of years. Right. And I don't know what to do with it. I'll be honest. I'm not an expert like you. So a lot of them are just kind of sitting there, but it's such great. And I have a lot of speakers that came in and, to help people understand how the human brain works. And
so is this going to be like an in-person program, or is this going to be an online thing? Or
it will be both. Yes.
It'll be both.
Yeah. I like the mastermind vibe. I am a people person. I like sitting with people and actually answering their questions and helping them develop, discovering the answers themselves, ultimately. And I feel like I need the program. That's why I created it. Right. I can't do this thing by myself. It's hard to just sit there. Mm-hmm. But I can sit with 5 dudes and talk about it and actually, increase my knowledge through interaction with other people.
Nice.
Right? So that's what's going on with that.
Yeah,
so it's
I want to before we ask you the next question on how this is kind of adapted towards things and what people have liked. It's time for the Grays Lake Hot Seat.
Oh, okay.
Yes, and Steve and I have talked a little bit about this in the past, but
what is that, Dave?
Well, let me tell you who it's brought to you by. It's brought to you by our friends at Barbecue Productions, which my favorite tagline that they have is, what was it? Oh, he likes pig butts, or I like pig butts and I cannot lie. Yeah. If you've not been to Barbecue Productions, the food is fantastic. If you're looking for barbecue around here, hey, I'm always telling people to shop local, right in Third Lake, right on 45 on Washington Street. Wonderful, great staff, great food. So the hot seat is actually brought to you by our friends at Barbecue Productions. Have a bunch of different locations as well. But I recommend you go there and you keep everything local. So hot seat, if you've listened to our show before, I'm going to ask Steve some rapid fire questions. He's going to answer as fast as he can. He's going to answer them. He's going to pass, or give us the stupidest answer that he could possibly think of. So I'm just going to kind of go through here. I'm setting my little clock on here, and some of these will go back and forth. So let's see what you can do. So Steve Neilson on the hot seat.
Go.
All right, fill in the blanks. Bartender, can I have a...
Old fashioned.
Wow. Favorite movie?
Born Identity.
Burger or hot dog?
Burger, for sure.
Favorite sports team?
I don't watch sports.
Okay. Would you rather live in the city or the country?
Country, for sure.
Your highest score in bowling?
134, I think, when I was 8.
You rock.
Yeah.
Last show you binge watched?
Office.
Wow. Early bird or night owl?
Night owl.
Go to karaoke song?
Ice Ice Baby.
Pool or ocean?
Pool.
Exercise. How many times do you exercise per week?
4 to 5.
Yeah, he exercises a lot. Jeez. Are you a high five guy, a knuckles guy, or a hugs guy?
High five.
What makes you sweaty?
Working out. Dancing. Anything cardio.
Okay. Anything specifically you're afraid of?
What am I afraid of? I'm not afraid of much. Abandonment.
Oh, okay. Well, there's an honest answer. This is the most honest one I've heard so far. Tell me about the second time you got arrested.
Well, let's see here.
Skip
my
over
favorite
that one.
My favorite time was on my third episode on Cops, because my shirt was off. I was smoking. I was wearing a ripped
Maybe
shirt.
you would recognize Steve from Cops. That's for sure.
I've never been arrested.
How often do you shave?
Every 2 days.
Does your car have a nickname?
Shea Whitey.
All right. How many days can you wear the same pair of jeans without washing them?
5 at minimum.
God, everybody lies about that one. 5 at minimum. Okay, 5 at minimum. I like that. Your toilet paper roll, does it roll over the top or roll over the bottom?
I am a red-blooded American. It goes over the top.
Okay, what do you put on your pizza?
Sausage.
Name a celebrity you've met.
Scottie Pippen.
Nice. What's the last thing that you purchased on Amazon?
New microphone.
Your favorite book ever?
No Excuses, Brian Tracy.
Nice.
No, I take that back.
No.
The Compound Effect, Darren Hardy.
Well, quit making excuses. And last one, I would never do blank again.
I can't answer that.
Okay, perfect. And that's it for the hot seat. So now moving back, and thank you, Chris, at Barbecue Productions for helping sponsor that part of the show. We're going to come up with some new questions and have some different ones for you, but hope you guys are enjoying them at least a little bit and get to know our guest a little bit more, which hopefully it does. But and I'm trying to keep the racy ones out of there. It's so hard for me to be clean on here.
I understand.
So I'm trying to just giving back to the community. One F-bomb at a time. Okay, so we were talking about the Dominator program, and I was sitting here with you one day, and I know that you had some interest. I don't know, it's from the church group or somebody else that, man, would this program really help kids? And then you and I had a discussion of these teenage kids, even everybody in high school, that don't have their purpose or don't know what they want to do with the rest of their life. So tell me a story about how you're approached about that and the changes you've had to make.
Right. So I'm a believer. I'm very, very proud of that. And I'm becoming way more active because I have a servant heart. Okay. I don't know if there's another fun fact. When I was a young boy, they had to break open my sternum and expand my rib cage because I have a large heart because I'm such a giver. So they had, anyway.
Right. I thought you were serious for a second, so I was being compassionate to you. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, I shared that at Christmas one time with them, and my dad was sitting at the table, and he's like, I don't remember that. Okay, sorry.
No extra charge for sarcasm.
Yeah, exactly. So, but because I do have a servant heart, I like helping out people. It's been a blessing to be at my church and be able to do that kind of stuff. And I feel like at home there doing those kinds of things because it's a gift, and I like to share it.
Yeah. So
through that, I become part of the youth program over there, which means I'm dealing with like eighth grade, and high schooler boys, just kind of give them some guidance and things like this. And they're taking a liking to me because of my edgy personality and stuff like that. I guess that's what's happening. It's like I'm not a nerd.
Right. Well, you're fun for the kids. And they look up to you.
There's a fun. Yeah, they're fun. Yes, I would agree with that. And I'm also humble.
Tad bit arrogant.
Yeah, exactly. I am humble. It's actually a very humbling experience. As much as I will claim arrogance and certainly a massive amounts of confidence in certain things
without arrogance. Yes.
Right. So anyway, it got me thinking about my Dominator program and how I can actually use it for the youth, because a lot of feedback I'm getting from the dads that I'm talking to are, my son is lost. He does not know what he's doing. They're like wrapped up in video games. They can't wait to get back home from school and just sit and do nothing.
I know.
And it's terrible.
I know.
And it's a trigger for me because school 100% failed me. I'm an entrepreneur. And teachers are not entrepreneurs. If they would be running a business, right? And God bless teachers. It's awesome. But they couldn't teach me what I needed to know.
Right. School's not for everyone.
It's not for everyone. Right. So I decided I was going to take my Dominator program and just take the business side out of it because it's so powerful. And I cannot believe the feedback that we're getting on this. It's literally changing young people's lives. So it's just giving them an opportunity to be them.
Right.
Do you know how you are? If I asked you, the word identity, right? You can identify that through all kinds of things, personality and experiences. And there's like 10 to 15 things that describe identity. Have you ever really thought about your identity, right? As an adult, whoever's listening to this, how about an 18-year-old? They have no clue.
No. And at 18, right? I had no idea.
No idea.
I wanted to chase girls and go party at college and whatever you could do. But there was kind of, but some people might know. Yeah. But I know for a fact that my children could use that. Mm-hmm. I'm going to encourage you again, because we talk about this a lot. I think that, especially if you're listening here, help us out and give Steve some more encouragement. I really think this would be a valuable program to be offering at the Grays Lake Park District. as a parent, I would, from what you've told me and what I know about this, I would sign my kid up today to just, even if it just turned him in a little way to find a purpose or find out something to be passionate about, and we all know, like what did you call it? The little things you do in life that build on, the thin threads. Is that what you call them? Thin threads? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that get you where you want to go. But
100%.
If you knew at 18 kind of where you wanted to go rather than knowing nothing or doing what your buddies wanted to do, it could change your whole life.
What? Absolutely. Yes. And that's why I'm doing it.
And it's
I'm dedicating the rest of my life to it.
Wow.
Yep. What am I doing with the last 25 years?
Right. Because
You're
going to shoot photography.
Right. 100%. So, the first 25 years, I feel like we know nothing. Okay. Basically. The second 25, we ruin everything. And the third 25, from 50 to 75 is when we're actually contributing to society in a real way.
Nice.
And that's what I want to do with the rest of my life. Photography, creating art, and helping youth.
Wow. And he's right here in our community, folks. So if any of this is, whether you're a businessman, because you're still running Dominator for business professionals, or maybe somebody that's caught in a rut somewhere, that maybe to get them inspired again, and helping the youth out to find the way that they want to go and kind of help shape them into being productive members of society, so to say.
Yeah, love it.
We always say that, when people die, they're not going to be like, especially people maybe you're playing on your phone today, no one's going to look back and go, yeah, Jimmy was great. Yeah, he got to level 275 on Wordly or whatever you're doing.
Right.
At least Wordly works your brain, but
right.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's one last story. So I love talking about legacy.
Yep.
And what are you leaving behind? Mm-hmm. Right? What kind of mark are you leaving? Because this is probably 15 years ago. I took my family to a water park, and it was a little bit more of a dangerous, like it was a high level water park. Okay. And it was my turn to go. My kids were still sitting on the ramp or whatever, we're waiting. They were the next ones in line. And so I start going down this thing, and as I'm yelling, as I'm going to my inevitable demise, right? I'm going to die in the pool at
the water park, yes.
I was yelling because I was playing this game, and the game literally on my phone, you have to feed these animals, right? So I'm like going down the thing, and I had it been hilarious because my kids said it was so funny. I'm like, feed my animals. They like strawberries. As I'm going down this thing to my death. And, that's my legacy. Right. Like I'm going to hand my phone over to my kids and say, can you continue playing my dumb games?
My farm life or whatever it's called. Right.
Yeah. Who cares? Right. What kind of legacy are you leaving? Right. But if you don't think about that, that's what you're doing.
Right. And
hey, could you keep watching the Bears game for me?
Right.
What?
And what could you be doing with your time instead of that?
What could you be doing with your time instead of that?
Whether it's just spending your time with your children or your family or your wife or your friends.
100%.
Yes. All right. Words of wisdom from Steve Neilson.
Yes.
And all you thought, and some people thought it was a dress shop.
Right. Seriously, bro.
So go follow him on TikTok. Check him out on all the social channels. But I want to end with this too. Two things. What's your favorite place to eat in Grays Lake? Because you support a lot of local businesses here. Some more than others. Yeah. Because you're kind of in a routine.
Yes. There are some restaurants I don't go into because I don't really know the people.
Right.
So, but the ones I eat at Twisted Burger because I love their burgers probably 3 times a week. And 4 days a week, 5 maybe, I eat at Whitney Street just because, I love their omelets. They're phenomenal.
Yeah. And when we do walk into Twisted Burger, I walk in and we look at the menu and he goes, they have burgers here. And then we go to Whitney and he goes, they have breakfast here. So
what are you looking at the menu for?
Right, exactly. He doesn't even get a menu. He walks into places like...
They're like usual.
And if you're cool, you just say, the usual.
Yeah.
And then they bring you whatever you want.
Right.
So Steve,
and I'm a big fan of the Vine, too. Yeah. But I want to fancy it up a little bit. I like going to the Vine.
Yeah. And we tend to go around here and have some cocktails every once in a while up and down the road.
Yeah.
It's too bad we don't have any bars in Grays Lake.
Yeah. It'd be nice if they opened one up.
Yeah, I know. We need one especially. But they're almost all on one side.
That's because it leans...
Oh, because yes. The first draft is the only one on the other side of the street, I think.
It might be.
Yeah. We got to work on that. Yeah. We need to, symmetrically, we need to get our drinking in order in this town. Hey, I want to say thank you to everybody that's listening to the show. This is Discovering Grays Lake. Please make sure you follow Steve on all the channels. Stop in and see the great shop. And finally, Steve, I want 2 companies or 2 people that are contributing to our community, whether it's business-wise or something that they're doing that you'd like for me to interview to bring their story to all of our listeners.
I am a huge fan of Mike Pruitt.
Nice.
So if you haven't interviewed him yet.
I have.
Okay. So, that would be certainly my one. I'm a fan of playing games, the Dungeon and Dragon store down the street.
I think store guy.
Yeah, he's a creative. I like him a lot.
I've actually never met him.
Okay. Oh yeah, I like him. Yeah, he's a nerd like me. You know.
Okay.
I mean that in a good way. Nerds run this world. So, and then if you obviously you haven't done him, and then the owner of Emils, Bob.
Okay.
He's a good buddy. He's fun to talk with.
Yeah, and I'm sure he's got a ton of stories of everything that's happened from there to everything.
Yeah.
But the game place and Emils. So we'll do it.
Cool.
All right. Well, hey, stop in and see Steve. Once again, everybody, thank you so much for listening to Discovering Grays Lake, and hopefully you learned something about Steve today and about his business, so stop in and say hello.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you, Steve.